Very good afternoon, everybody. Myself, Mamta here, and I am from GPC Khuni Majra Mohali. I am a lecturer in computer engineering. Today, our topic of discussion is crystal reports in .NET. First of all, let's go through the objectives of the topics that we will be going through in this presentation. The first topic will be how to create a simple crystal report in Visual Studio.net, and second topic will be to display a crystal report in Windows form application, means how we will be displaying the crystal report in a window forms, and then to display a crystal report in a web form application, and to publish the crystal report as an XML report web service. And the last topic will be how to deploy crystal reports to the web. First of all, let us go through the advantages of crystal reports. The major advantages of using crystal reports for Visual Studio.net are, first of all, it is having rapid report development, means the process of creating crystal report is very fast. You can rapidly create the crystal reports, and we can extend it to complicated reports with interactive charts, means along with simple crystal reports you can make them complicated by extending them and adding some interactive charts to it. It exposes a report object model using which it can interact with other controls on the web form, means you can also create the interactive model of objects having the controls from which we can move from one form to another, means a crystal report can have the interactive controls over a form so that we can switch from one form to another. It can programmatically export the reports into widely used formats like PDF format, document format, Excel sheet format, HTML format, and RTF, that is rich text format, means we can convert a crystal report into these formats, which is PDF format, document format .doc, Excel sheet format, that is .xls, HTML format for hypertext markup language, and there is RTF format, that is for rich text format. Next comes the architecture of a crystal report in detail, where we are having different consumers. They can be browsers, they can be B2B XML servers, they can be Win32 applications, and there can be some wireless consumers. This is the architecture which is based on some particular standards, and it supports some existing data sources such as OLAP, that is SAP data source, SQL, that is structured query language, relational ODBC, that is object database connectivity, OLE DB, native relational databases, and other databases like COM, CRM, ERP, XML, means the architecture of crystal reports also supports some data sources from which we can grasp some data to create the reports, and these crystal reports are easily accessible by all the users, mean any users can access these crystal reports, and these crystal reports are delivered in a way in which the users want to use the data, means first of all crystal reports are very easy to maintain, these are very easy to make, and accessibility is provided to all the users, and They provide a easy to use data to multiple users. Here we are having the consumers. Here is the content delivery portion of the architecture, which contains a web server and a web component server. The web servers can be Apache, that is CGI, computer graphic interfaces, Microsoft server and Netscape navigator. There is an open interface layer, which is a kind of development language. This language can be JavaScript language, VB script language, Visual Basic or C++ language. These are the development languages which provide an open interface layer to this architecture. Then there are some directory servers and multi-tier platforms like NT and Unix, which is providing security and management, and repository services, Holos analytic server, report application server, and processing and cache properties. And this is the content creation tool such as Crystal reports, Crystal analysis and Crystal applications. These are the directory servers and content creation tools which can be used for creating the contents of the Crystal reports and then analyzing those Crystal reports. There comes a Crystal Enterprise framework which is used for the generation and management of the Crystal reports. Here is the Crystal reports walkthrough, in which we use a model, that is the pull down model, for adding a new project to the Crystal report. Suppose we are to add a new project to the solution, then what we have to do is we are to go to project menu, then go to add item menu, then go to Crystal decisions window app. Means it is a project which is used for creating an application with a window user interface. For that you have to follow these steps. First of all, go to new project menu, then you are to select the type of the project, whether it is a VB project, whether it is a C# project, C++ project or some other project. Then you have to select a template, whether it is a window application, whether it is a class library, whether it is a ASP.NET web application or web service and so on. Then you have to click the OK button and then you can add a Crystal report to that particular project. By following these steps, first of all, go to project menu, go to add new item sub menu, then click on web project items, and last step will be Crystal report. These are the steps to create the Crystal reports on the new project. Go to project, then add new item, then web project items, and in web project items you can go to Crystal report. By clicking on the Crystal report, you will find a Crystal report gallery dialog. In this diagram you can say how to add new items. We can click on local project items, click on Crystal reports, and a Crystal report file that publishes the whole data to the Windows or web form will be created, and you can save that Crystal report by the name Crystal report 1.rpt, which is the extension of creating a Crystal report. It is a .rtp. Then you can also select the standard report format. We are having three different report format. First one is using the report expert, using a blank report, and from an existing report. If you want to proceed with the existing crystal report and to edit some data over that report, you can open the existing report. Then you can also choose the expert format, whether it is a standard format, whether it is a form letter format, whether it is a simple form, it can be a cross tab form, it can be in superport form, it can be a kind of mail label and drill down. These are the different standards for creating an expert in the report. Then next step is to select the object linking and embedding database, that is ADO connectivity. It is ADO connectivity for Microsoft Jet 4.0 OLE DB provider. By clicking on standard report expert in the data menu, you can see this is the drop down list of the available data sources from which we can grasp the data for creating the crystal report. These available data sources are further having particular files in them. If you are going to connect with OLE DB connector, then you can click on OLE DB ADO connector. Another window will be opened that will provide you the list or the list of different files, that is link file, which are used to link the crystal report to a web form. It is OLE database connectivity, that is ADO database connectivity, which is provided by OLE database provider, which is used to select a form, and it is used to select the database provider and from the list, or you can also collect the data link file. For example, here we are going to choose Microsoft Jet 4.0 OLE DB provider for the connectivity, having the connection information as C# and C column program files. Go to Microsoft Visual Studio.net, crystal report, samples, database, and this is the name of the database file. The name of the database is given here. This is sample/database.extreme.mdb Microsoft database file. The type of the database is Microsoft Access. This is the method to create the OLE DB, that is object linking and embedding database. You are creating a database, you are linking that database to the crystal report. Next is how to add the data and fields into the crystal report. By going to the standard report expert window, you can go to the menu field, which will be having multiple fields for that particular object that you are going to import on your crystal report. Suppose there is an object named customer having particular table, a table having in row and column format. These are the multiple fields of the table customer. Here you are having customer ID. You can add customer ID to the fields or field column that you want to display on your report. You can choose the information to display on the report. Select the available fields that contain the data which you want to have on your report. Then you can add those items, those fields to the display list. This is the display list in which the fields that you choose will be added, and these fields that are on the display board will be added to the crystal report. Mean the selected fields from these available fields will be added to the crystal report. How to add the group or a particular total item? First of all, go to the standard report expert window, then click on the group item. Here the group of the information on the report will be available. This is optional topic. This is the optional choice. You can opt group or you can opt a total. For entering the data over the report, the records will be sorted by their values on the group by field. Means you are sorting the fields, you are sorting the values on the groups by their field. You can also add summary information in the total step to break the sorted record into groups. Means you can create the groups of the records, you can add the data or other summary information into the total step to break those steps into the particular groups. You can click on here, you can see these are the available fields in the group icon. These are customer name, contact first name, contact last name, city, region, country. Suppose we are going to select the customer country, we are going to select a group by the name customer country. Further, what we are going to do is to do the totaling. Totaling mean to break down those particular sorted records into the group. For example, you can add summary information to the report. For example, for each group, like here we are having customer country as a group. For each group you can choose one or more fields to summarize, mean to go into more detail. For example, here we are having the list of available fields of total group. Here is report field, that is customer, customer name, customer last year sale, customer's email, customer's country. This is the group field of the total report field. You can choose only customer, customer name, and you can choose only customer email. That is up to you which item, which field you want to select and send it to the summarized field. Here we choose the summarized field as customer last year's sale. Next is top N option and charting a data. How the data is available in the form of charts. The top N option is the sorting of the groups based on summarized total. Means in the previous steps you have done the totaling of the groups, you have chosen some summarized totals of the groups, and the groups on the reports can be sorted based on their values for the particular selected summarized fields. Suppose if I choose the customer name as a total group, then I can sort out the group on the report on the basis of the value of customer name field. You can, in the top N option, you can sort out the fields based on their values, and you can place those top N sorted values on your report. Suppose I am having a customer country as a group, then for this group the sorting is based on top N, which is based on sum of the customer last year sale. Based on a particular field, you can do the sorting of those fields. Here N is equal to 15. I have taken the value of N is equal to 15, means until the value of N reaches 15, this particular field value will be sorted out. On the basis of this field, you are doing the sorting of a group, and the group is customers country, which is being sorted on the basis of this field up to 15 times. So in the standard report expert dialog box, you can see the sorting of the customer country group on the basis of their last year sales in the form of various data. It includes the charts of the data. The charts include the report, total report. We have to select a particular chart, type of the chart, and the data which you want it to represent. Here the type of data, click on the option type of the data. Data can be in the form of chart type, which is bar type, line, area, pie chart, and 3D riser, and many more. You can select the data on the change of customer country, and there shows the sum of the customers last year sale. By with the help of pie chart with 3D visual effects or any other chart type that you choose, you can represent the sum of the customers last year's sale. Next comes the design of the standard report. The standard report design consists of, these are the following fields which a standard report format can have. It can have the data menu, it can have fields menu, group menu, total menu, top and chart menu, select menu, and the style menu. When we are going to design a particular crystal report, the standard format or the style will be selected by going to the style menu bar of the standard report expert dialog window. Here it is again optional. You can add the style to your report, means it can having shading style, it can have red or blue borders, it can have maroon or teal box, it can have trailing break. The corresponding styles are also displayed in the form of this preview form that you can apply onto your crystal reports. Next comes the particular pie chart diagram. This is the diagrammatic representation of the pie chart in which the sum of the last year's sale according to per unit country is shown in the form of diagram. This is a pie chart showing the sum of last year's sale in every country. Here its coding will be represented in the .NET format. This is the creation of the crystal reports. How the crystal report viewer will be added to the form 1 of VB.NET. Here if we are going to add crystal report viewer into the form 1.vb, you can click on form 1.vb design, then you can have, this is the property window of that particular form. You can choose the options, whether each and every option related to the report will be available in the property window of the form that you are going to add a crystal report on. Then you can right click on the form and view the code. You can type the text in the yellow areas. Here this is the yellow area which represents the code for creating the crystal reports into the form of VB.NET. Means when you right click on the form 1, you can see the overall code of the form including the code of the crystal report. This code can be modified by adding any kind of text which you want your report should have in the yellow portion only. Then this is the building and then running of the report. Here your report is ready. This is some of the last year's sales of a country which is you can see different colored portions, and according to these different colored portions you can see the coding of these portions into the form by right clicking on the form. Next is the adding of a project into the .NET application. You can add new project, like it is a Visual Basic project. Click on ASP.NET Web Application, a project for creating an application with a web user interface. Go to the project menu, click on new project, then click on ASP.NET web application and a new window will be opened. It will be representing the application with a web user interface. Then again you can right click and set the form as a startup form and project as a startup project. Here you can see this is the crystal report viewer. Crystal report viewer 1. Use the report source or data buildings property to specify a report particular source. Report source. The page you are working on a grid layout mode and objects will be arranged using absolute coordinate, that is x coordinate and y coordinate. This is the diagram which is showing how we are adding a new item to the crystal report. You can also add the items to the existing crystal reports. Sometimes we are already having the existing crystal reports, and what you are to do is to add the items to them which are already existing. From an existing crystal report, you can have crystal report gallery with 3 particular report documents. It is your choice if you are going to a blank report, if you are going to an existing report, or if you are using any report expert. Then you can add the previously created crystal report 1. In this step, if you are using already existing crystal report, then you can import. This was the already made crystal report 1 which can be added to the new crystal report. And then this is the add code behind the web form build, that is build solution, then debug and start without debugging. This is the code for creating the crystal report and adding the already existing crystal report on the new existing form. Then this is the step when you are running that crystal report from the web. As usual, as we have previously studied, this is the step to create to run the crystal report from the web, that is from internet. Next is adding the crystal report 1. The file here is the crystal report 1 having the solution explorer, that is having some properties, that is web service 1. To add the components to your class, drag them from the server explorer or toolbox and use the properties window to set their properties. This is the server explorer or toolbox from which you can choose any property and then you can change the values of their properties. To create the methods and events for your class, click here to switch to code view. If you want to see the methods or the events of your class, you can click on this place to go to the coding view. Right click on the web service 1 and add existing item, browse to crystal report 1. You can right click on this item and you can add some existing items on this crystal reports. This is how we are applying testing on the crystal report 1 service. The following operations are supported. For a formal definition, we can review the service description. There are methods to test the crystal reports. You can do drill graphing, you can do refresh button, you can do find text, get page, get totaler, test report, get group level data, find group and get last page number. These are the different methods to test the crystal report 1 service. Next is to right click on the crystal report and set it as a startup crystal report. So go to the solution explorer crystal report and set the property of crystal report as a startup crystal report.
by right clicking on that. The right click on form1.vb and then select the view code. According to that crystal report, you can right click on the form1 of .NET and select that code for the crystal report that you have created. See, in the solution explorer toolbox, you are having crystal report, having these are the properties of crystal report.